welcome to another call. So today joins us Carmen, and let me tell you a little bit about her. So Carmen Croonquist, drawing from her humble beginnings on a Minnesota farm, overcame so many ingrained limiting beliefs about wealth creation and worthiness that were tied to struggle and hard work. Like literally, how many of us can relate? Now, as a mastery money mindset business mentor and keynote speaker, she helps heart-centered coaches and wellness entrepreneurs crack their money code to create confidence, cash, time freedom, all while aligning their divine purpose. And with a rich background that includes the 3 decades of executive coaching, leadership, international speaking, and writing, Carmen's work is a beacon for women entrepreneurs aiming to transcend their financial barriers and to redefine their relationships with money in creating a meaningful impact and legacy. Today, she's joining us because we're going to have a very interesting conversation. Usual, right? So one where we're going to discuss how the universe sometimes takes away some things and removes them from our lives. Carmen, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. So I really can't wait until we dive into the conversation, but I want you to share with us, if you can, maybe just a little bit of life. How did it get you here? Like, how did all these things happen that you took on this different view of mindset and beliefs and spirituality and all of that?
Well, I've been in the field of helping people for over 30 years. So since I was 26 years old, I've been, a counseling psychologist and a coach. And then I went on to teach people how to do what I do. But the integration of spirituality just first kind of became more organically as I became more spiritual and more aware of spiritual principles. But it really was kind of a dark night of the soul that got me to really integrating that into my business. First, it was a happenstance of luck. Um, I won a class. I'd never won anything in my life, but in 2003, I won this door prize at a conference. And it was something that I was just totally in shock over winning. And it was a certification program to become a law of attraction coach.
Wow.
And this was before The Secret came out and, all this stuff was mainstream. But I started playing with it in all that I did. And I managed to manifest 4 free trips to Europe as a speaker, and then one as a gift, and a trip to Hawaii as a speaker. So things were like happening for me in so many amazing ways. And I started integrating that into my practice, which was very spiritual. But how I got to incorporating more of the spiritual piece into my work was because the universe took everything away. At the end of 2015, it was, I call it a shit tsunami that happened to me.
Oh, I can relate. I love the term. I'm gonna steal that term. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Talk to us a little bit about that because it's not that you have to go into details, but it's literally that. It's things happen and it does feel like a tsunami and it does feel like a shit tsunami because it's like you don't understand why, at least I'll say it in my perspective, when things happen to me, like I laughed that I didn't have a black night of the soul or dark night of the soul. I had like a decade of it. Like it was just nonstop. It was like the longest ever night ever. But it's true. It's when you look back, and that's what we're talking about today. When you look back, you're like, wow, life did that, the universe did that for my highest good. But we don't see it when we're there. So talk to us a little bit about how you see that and we'll just start from there.
Sure. Well, just a little bit of context about what happened. Um, so at the time that I hit my shit tsunami, as we call it, it almost sounds like a dog, a shit tsunami. And, um, I was um, I was like around 50 years old at the time. I was 50, you know, at a decade when I just turned 50. And it's just like that's hard enough. I don't know what it
Mhm.
was about turning 50. You know, I wasn't looking forward to that decade. And suddenly the guy that I was dating for about a year broke up with me out of the blue, like the day after Christmas or the day after Thanksgiving. And it was one of those unexpected and unwanted things.
Mhm.
And then three people in my life were diagnosed with cancer. And then my job was cut. And I started worrying about money. I mean, it was just on every factor, like the person that I wanted for support at that time, the guy that I was dating was suddenly gone. Um, the job being cut, I had a number of, I had my feet in a lot of different, you know, places right then. I was in counselor education and had my own coaching program at a graduate school. I had a private practice, but I also had a really lucrative coaching contract with Price Waterhouse and with Facebook coaching their top leaders. That was very lucrative, and I didn't want that to go away.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, these things left my life. And it really took a while for me to see that the universe had my back, that sometimes to remove things, it is going to bring things better. Now, when it comes to the people that left right then, you know, that was tragic because three of the people that were diagnosed with cancer did not make it.
Mhm.
You know, two of the people, one of them was gone within 2 weeks and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her.
Mhm.
But what's been interesting about that woman is she's come through to channel a book to one other person that was a good friend and colleague. And she channeled a new form of art called Lovitude to another friend. So she's still around doing her wonderful magic from the other side.
Mhm. Nice.
But for me, the way that I approached it was I did a lot of feng shui. And I just decided, well, since the universe is clearing stuff out anyway, what else do I need to get rid of?
Right.
You know, in terms of tangible clutter and emotional clutter. So what was I carrying around in terms of physical stuff that was stuck energy that I needed to get out of my place? So I think I took like 12 carloads to the local Goodwill and
Mhm.
gave away a lot of stuff. I over purged. There were a few things where later I was like, why did I give that away? You know, I was a little overzealous, but I used that kind of mindset. Is it useful? Is it beautiful? Do I love it? Does it spark joy? And if it didn't, it was gone.
Mhm.
So, but when it came to emotional clutter, I really had to think about where did I need to forgive myself or other people? What kind of regrets or resentments was I still carrying around? Um, where was I, you know, hard on myself? Where was I feeling kind of shame or heartbreak in my life that I needed to release and heal? And that was really illuminating, you know, to look at that. And especially when it came to that guy that left me out of the blue, you know, to come to a point of, you know, peacefulness with that decision. Because 7 months later, the universe delivered my husband, my divine life partner, who was 100 times better than the guy that said goodbye to me. I had no idea that the universe had somebody, it needed to kick that dude out to
Mhm.
bring in the one
Mhm.
7 months later. But at that point, at age 50, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be back in the dating scene again, you know. And
Mhm.
then as far as the career, you know, I'd always had my next gig lined up before I made a move. And I usually had multiple streams of revenue. And suddenly I just decided I'm tired of office politics in both corporate America and in higher education. So whatever I do next, I'm just going to grow my own private practice. And I really wanted to do something a little bit more different in integrating that spirituality. And so by happenstance, I encountered this woman who really had this great aura. And I was curious about what she did. And she told me she was a theta healer. And I'm like, what's that?
Mhm.
And she explained to me that she was able to very quickly get at subconscious beliefs and barriers that prevent people from getting what they want. And also just, things that prevent you from living a very healthy lifestyle and all of that. Because I was starting to go through menopause at the time too. So I was having fears about that. So
Everything.
she gave me a session and she found all kinds of things that related to menopause and the fears about that and cleared it out. And there was so much that she uncovered that was truly transformational. And for somebody who had a counseling psychology background, it made me realize you don't have to undergo years of therapy and relive traumas. You can get to the root cause of things quickly and shift your world. So I went on to take 4 certifications with her. And initially, I got some pushback because I was very well known, especially in the career development world.
Mm,
It's helping people with, career counseling, career transition, career life purpose. And people that knew me in that world, because I was a speaker and was pretty visible, had this, Carmen, don't get too woo-woo, you're going to scare people away. And yet it felt so authentic and real for me to come out and just be who I was and align with my divine purpose.
yep.
And I started integrating it into the work that I did, and people were getting results, and it changed my world, and I love it. And it gave me a sense of excitement and fun again.
Mm,
This point in my career when a lot of people are kind of winding down. I'm 59 years old, and a lot of people are thinking retirement or winding down. It gave me this boost of, hey, I have a lot of tools and a lot of wisdom at this point in my life and career to give to this next generation
mm-hmm,
and to give to entrepreneurs out there who are trying to make it big, and a lot of light and inspiration to share.
mm-hmm,
And so it was all for good. And that's brings us back to where we started, where at that time when I was having that shit tsunami, and it was right during the holidays, which is a hard time to be going
mm-hmm.
through all this. Um, 6 months later, 7 months later, I was seeing life very differently. And I realized that the universe did have my back, and that, some things had to leave in order to bring better things in.
Right. Right.
And it left me with this renewed sense of purpose and joy and fun, and new tools to offer to help people really live a life that is beyond what you can conceive, and to really get rid of those blocks and barriers that get in the way of you having the business or career that you want. So it was all for the good.
It was, excuse me. And I'm writing that down, a life beyond what you can even conceive. And I think that's okay, but we'll back it up. I'll get back to that thought. Because a few things. I love the fact that you said and fun. And you said it
Right.
several times. It's fun. And I think a lot of people, obviously, complete understanding when things go away and we feel that shit tsunami happening, the least thing we think about is this is for my highest good. Much less is it fun. Much less am I gonna have fun afterwards. You go into like this scarcity surviving mode of I don't want to say hoarding, but trying to grab onto as much as you can. And yet you went ahead and you did the opposite and you said, you know what? The universe is taking things away from me. I'm going to take action and I'll go to the Goodwill and get rid of this stuff. Like I'll choose to follow along that line. And I love that because you took an action step towards the, okay, this is all happening, but I can also do this on my own. Like, let me choose and it's not just the physical things, it's the emotional. Like when you started asking, what is this? And does this feel right to me? And why do I think that? That whole introspection is probably or would probably have not come about if life would have continued the way that it was. And it's such an interesting way to see that because it's kind of like, all right, fine, this happened. What are you going to do? Are we going to sulk in it? Or are we going to be like, okay, fine. I'm gonna move along, even if it's baby steps, even if it's just doing this. So I love when you said that. And the other thing that I started laughing, um, you just made me remember a friend of mine told me once, very long time ago. She was like, imagine you have an old sofa in the living room. You can't get a new sofa delivered. The universe needs to get that old sofa out. You need to get rid of the old sofa and a new sofa, even better, more comfy. All of this is going to come in. And it's true. It's what happened with you said in the relationship. You did not expect it. He left, whatever the reason was, whatever the situation was. If he would have been there, you would have never met the person that you ended up marrying. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like okay, these things happen, but we have to have some kind of faith and understanding that it is true. The universe does have our back. We can't hold on to the things we think we want because, and again, it comes back to what you just said last. Sometimes life can be beyond what we can even conceive. So we think this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And the world is like, no, honey, we have somebody better for you. And not better in a bad way, just better for you in so many other ways. And I think that's amazing to do that.
Right. And now that I can look back, that perspective of time and distance and hindsight being 2020, it's like, oh yes,
Right.
the person I'm with, we're so much more aligned. We have the
Hmm.
lifestyle I've always wanted. We're just so compatible. And I just feel incredibly blessed. So,
Beautiful.
and that was a big manifestation. I did a lot of feng shui to my house after I cleared the clutter. Then I was a lot more mindful of how I feng shuied. And
Hmm.
I really gave a lot of thought, not just to the person that I wanted to be with, but I thought about who I wanted to be in that relationship,
Right.
how I wanted to feel. And I got that person.
Right.
And just amazing human
Right.
being. And
That's
so I'm so grateful because that is not always the easiest manifestation because it's one thing to manifest money or another job or opportunity, but manifesting another person, that takes two.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, wow.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's amazing. And I love you just said that. You wanted to manifest, you wanted to write down what you wanted to feel. Because a lot of, and it's funny that this is happening. So, as you know, this is season 9, episode 3. Episode 2 was about love activating, and we talked about the same thing. It's not about manifesting that partner or creating a list for that partner. It's about being able to blend your life with theirs in such a compatible way for both of you. And what's even more funny is that she said something about activating your life's purpose, which was actually episode 1. It's not like I even planned this. It just happened to be all these three are like connected. And again, that's probably the universe trying to tell me something because I'm the common denominator here. But it's such a beautiful way to see that you create this thing based on you. It's
Mhm.
not, I want to manifest a man like this, and this. No, I want to manifest a man or a partner where I can live the life that we want, where I can be and feel this, where I can, because that's the common theme. Anyways,
Right.
I have a
And
question for you.
it was like, how do I want the relationship to be? Not
Mm-hmm.
just qualities of that person,
Mm-hmm.
but then how do I show up and be that too?
Right.
Because if you're wanting this other person to be a certain way, you have to reflect those qualities yourself. So it forces
Right.
you, or at least for me, to look
Mm-hmm.
within, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how am I matching that?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. No, I love that. Now, I have a question for you because I want to pick your brain in the law of attraction.
Happy
In
to.
the sense of when you mentioned The Secret. So when
Hmm.
I first read The Secret, I don't know. It made sense. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And I saw like the magic to it, right? Here's the story. I had a check that I needed to deposit. And I can still remember, I can't remember the guy's face on the teller, but I could still remember I was through the drive-through 20 years ago. And I deposited the check and I deposited the check knowing I had to deposit. Like I needed to make sure that money was in the account. I deposited the thing. He gave back to me the receipt and $1,000 in cash. And the check was like 1,300 or something. So I remember looking at it like, oh my God, did he only deposit 300 and gave me 1,000? And I was like, no, 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 I need to have a deposit. So I sent the money back. And I was like, no, I think you misunderstood that the $1,000 needs to go in the bank. And he looked at the receipt and he sends it back to me. And he's like, no, this $1,000 is the one that you requested. It's for you. It's showing me that I need to give you $1,000, but your 1,300 has been deposited. And I was freaking out because I was like, this can't be. Not that I thought about I manifested it or nothing. I was just freaked out that I needed to make sure that money was in the bank. He
Right.
sent it back to me 3 times. By the third, I was like, you know what? I'm keeping this $1,000. And the reason I'm sharing this is one, things happen and we don't believe it. Two, I was in such a scarcity mindset, worried that that money needed to be in the bank because I think it was like rent or something that I needed to pay. That it didn't click that it was more. And then three, I was like, this man's gonna get in trouble because he's gonna be $1,000 short. But he just kept sending it back to me. And I was like, by the third time, I was like, all right, I'm taking it off and I'm not gonna spend it. And if I get a call from the bank, I'll go take it back. I never got the call. I mean, I literally got $1,000. And he kept saying, the system is showing me I have to give you this money. And those words keep ringing in my head. So my question for you is, why hasn't it happened again?
Why hasn't it happened again? I don't know. Well, um, I, I I can't answer that.
No, I know.
The universe decided to give you that money, and it probably has other ways to give you money.
Right.
Um, I got something random out of the blue too. When
Hmm.
I was in the process of manifesting money, I helped a guy get a really good speaking gig that paid him 10 grand. And he gave me 10%. And all of a
Mm.
sudden, and I was in the middle of a lawsuit with a crazy neighbor over a property dispute. And so I was spending stupid money at that point in time and feeling bad about it. And all of a sudden I get a check for $1,000 just randomly in the
Hmm.
mail.
Hmm.
And I decided to invest it in me, because it was like, all right, once I took the theta healing, I realized I had a contract with this woman. And even though I kept winning this lawsuit, she kept harassing me. And then once I cleared this out and marked that complete, she's never bothered me since.
Okay.
But that $1,000 check that showed up was just like this amazing sign from the universe. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm going to deliver what you want, and maybe not the way you expected it, because
Hmm.
that's totally unexpected, just like yours.
Right.
And
Yeah.
in getting the trips to Europe, um, I put out a manifestation that I wanted to go to Europe, all expenses paid. And 2 weeks later, I get a call from someone at the University of Iceland who saw me speak at a conference in Madison, Wisconsin,
Oh,
and
wow.
just said, we'd love to have you over as a speaker. We have grant money, we'll pay for your trip, and we'll give you a stipend. And they had me speaking to 3 different groups. Well, I ended up meeting all these people, making friends and connections, and it was the most rewarding and wonderful. And it wasn't on my radar of a place to go. I was thinking,
Hmm.
but I did get the free trip to Italy too.
Okay.
So it was a very quick manifestation. And I
Right.
manifested our house in Florida within 2 weeks.
Nice. And that's one of the great things. Like I know I was kidding about why hasn't happened again, but I think it's that. It's things can happen so quickly. You just said it. You manifested a house in 2 weeks. And it's the universe literally saying, in my words, it's like there is magic. Trust it. You are a manifester. You are a creator. It's not magic as in Tinkerbell magic. It's magic as in you are that powerful manifester, but we have to learn how to do it on purpose. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, it's what I call creating by design instead of by default.
Mm.
Because many of us get into that we're reacting to whatever is happening around us. and putting out positive or negative vibes because we're judging everything, rather than just kind of staying in this sense of faith and focusing on what we want instead of what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Using that contrast that we get by the things that we don't want showing up, and
Mm-hmm.
then quickly redirecting it back, like, okay, I don't want that. What do I want instead?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I get realigned with it in terms of my energy, my being, my certainty, um, my sense of, confidence in allowing it to come to me, and
Mm-hmm.
that it might come to me in a way that I didn't expect. Like
Mm-hmm.
these trips to Europe, I never would have thought that I would be invited over as a speaker. And now I get to go to Spain in a couple of weeks as a speaker.
Nice. That is
So
super
it's
nice.
super, super excited at these opportunities that when I was a child, I could only dream of. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to explore the world. I was a little book nerd who, just because I grew up on a farm and we never got to go anywhere, I just
Except in books, right?
and stepped in books.
Imagination,
And so
right?
my imagination took me everywhere, and I just couldn't wait to explore the world. And it's happened in ways that I never would have expected. So I really think it's, having clarity on what you intend and what you want, and putting it out there, whether you speak it, write it, affirm it, um, through affirmations, or I call them afformations, where you start
Mm-hmm.
asking your subconscious
Mm-hmm.
about things. It's a little different, a little tweak
Right.
of affirmations.
Right.
But then just having a sense of trust and certainty and worthiness, that's part of it that I think that I encounter with people, especially in regards to money.
Mm.
Um, Feeling the sense of, hey, I'm worthy of having this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's possible, and I believe I'm worthy of receiving this. And I
Okay.
think those are really key things when it
Yeah.
comes to manifesting. And in getting rid of the whole how, because so often we want to figure out all the details, like, how's this going to happen? And I could never have figured out how I was going to get these free trips to Europe.
Right.
The universe just, it delivered, and it delivered one in the terms of a Valentine's Day gift from somebody that I dated too. That was
Oh,
a trip to Italy.
there we go.
Um,
That there was Italy. Italy.
that I got my Italy trip because when I put out my desire statement, um, affirming that I knew I was going to go to Europe, all expenses paid, and I kind of got in the feeling of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I put it in my desk drawer, and it was 2 weeks later. But in my mind, I thought Italy. Well, I had something but it turned out to be Iceland instead, which turned out to be way more amazing than I could have, anticipated. But
Uh-huh.
now I've gotten to go to Italy 3 times. So
I love Italy. No, and I love that you said that because it's going back to even what we're talking about in the topic. Literally, we put this desire, we put this intention, we're clear on what we want. So the universe starts to do what it needs to do in order to make that happen. Hence why it needs to remove certain things that don't go on that path anymore. And
right,
we're not saying that everything that it removes, it's bad. It could be maybe you stop talking to a certain friend, or maybe you stop interest in a certain show, because even the things that we watch can pull us away from the energy and the frequency of what we're actually quote unquote trying to attract. It's
right,
just the universe kind of guiding us and being open and trusting and flexible enough to not judge it and not, in my words, freak out when you start noticing it. Because it's like, oh my God, I made this petition and like all this went away, but I've worked so hard for all of this. And you get in your head and it's like, no, 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 no. Let me trust it. Let me go with it.
exactly. It is the whole. Um, Again, you don't know how, what you want might be delivered. And we often get so caught up in trying to figure that out. And
Hmm.
yet, when I think about some of the magical things that have happened to me, they've come in ways that I never could have conceived of.
Beautiful.
So I'm a firm believer in that. Just being open. Yeah, you can put out there with a sense of kind of how you'd like it to be, but the universe might have something way better in store for you.
Hmm.
And so I always say this or something better is what I
Right.
do. And I
Right.
claim it.
Right.
I claim it and I claim that I am this, affirming because you're programming your subconscious mind when you claim I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. I am someone who receives magical things. I am
Mm-hmm.
somebody who always gets the best parking spots.
Mm-hmm.
I am somebody who, finds opportunity at every turn. And I am someone who everything always works out for me in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those are affirmations that are part of my daily mindset.
Mm-hmm.
When I see some things where it's easy to spiral.
Yeah.
And then I also think it's part of brain training too, training your brain to be more of a sage brain so that you don't have saboteurs that derail you.
Yeah. Because I think even with the hardest, clearest intentions, if we let our brain, you're absolutely right, think differently, self-sabotage us, get into fear, or maybe, example, talking about maybe having the universe pull somebody away from us. It could be a simple example as in a friend. The person's beautiful, this, that, loving, years of friendship, but it's the kind of person that doesn't vibe with what you're thinking. And if you share, oh my God, this is happening to me and this, and they're like, oh no, but be careful. Oh no, but this. Oh, that brings us down. So I think the universe does kind of step away those people or those situations so that we can have the time and the fortitude to brain train ourselves because it is a muscle we need. It is something that we need to practice on, keeping our focus, keeping our thoughts, aligning with the positivity and staying there no matter what the people around us tell us. But I find it as a practice.
It is a practice. And I really think it's just being able to realize that circumstances just are, and we want to label them as good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to put meaning on things that happen. But the universe, it's giving us contrasts so that we can get a better sense of what we really, really want.
Right.
And understanding that we always have that flip switch and that it's really up to us to claim our happiness because it starts here. Happiness is not out there in the money, the man, the job, the travel. Happiness is you deciding that you're going to be happy and finding a point in your vibration
Mm-hmm.
and finding ways to accept that everything is a gift and enjoying the journey. Like I said before, one of my deals with the creator is I get to have a ton of fun on this
Mm-hmm.
journey. I
Mm-hmm.
get to enjoy every step of the way, even the mistakes I make, even the times I put my foot in my mouth, or where things aren't as polished or perfect as I would like them to be.
Right.
It's just having the grace to, accept yourself and others as you are. It's tolerance. And I think that's one of the biggest virtues we're here to learn is tolerance and compassion for others. And it starts here. It starts with the tolerance and compassion and love we have for ourselves so that our bucket is full so that we can give it to others.
Mm-hmm. And I think when our bucket is full and that overflow comes out is when we actually start seeing the world for what it's always been trying to show us. It's
Right.
like somehow we have this internal flip that kind of, gosh, that's always been there, but I've never noticed it like that. And I think that's part of like you just said, the tolerance, the compassion, the gratitude. It's looking at like all these things in such a totally different lens that it's physical. It's literally physical when you get to see the universe, everything it's done for you. And I think that's at least for me, I'll say that. That's the goal to live there 100% or 150%. Because I'll go up, I'll go down, I'm more days up than down. way more days than I used to be years ago. And it's a process, and we're all learning and we're all deciding, okay, what do I want today and what makes me happy today? Even if it's a shift in anything, it's what makes me happy. And that all the universe feeds into it and gives you more of that. That's literally why it's called law of attraction, right? It's like whatever you give out comes back to you, whichever which way. So we get to choose what we want to see. But again, we have to train ourselves and go to mentors like you and get people to help us because it's not easy to always do it by ourselves. And it gets to a point that we see something up to a certain degree, but we need somebody like a coach or a mentor to help us like dig a little bit deeper and be like, wait, this is where it's coming from, not here. Let's look at this instead, right?
Right. Exactly. Because we only have so much objectivity when it comes to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like going for a hike with a mirror, like right in front
Right.
of your nose, you
Right.
know? You can't, I mean, you can look in the mirror, but if it's right up there, you can't
Mm-hmm.
see it. You can't go for a hike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think having, good coaches and good mentors in your background, I think that's essential for everyone. I wouldn't be where I am without good mentorship.
Right. Right. Honey, thank you so much. I know we're kind of spinning off in the time, but I wanted to thank you so much for your conversation, for bringing this into the awareness, more as in the, yes, law of attraction exists, but it exists for a reason. And it's quote unquote, my words, filling in the void of what the universe did take away because it took away for a reason. It's giving you what you want and it's allowing us to see that. So thank you for your time. I want people to connect with you, Carmen. Where can they reach out? Where can they go?
Well, I invite people to reach out to me on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And again, my name is Carmen. Last name is Croonquist. Good old Scandinavian name. But as far as my website, it's my business is called Intentionality because I believe when you have clarity about your intentions, you can live your truth and you can own your worth at the highest levels. So that's really my motto and my mission. So you can find me under intentionalityconsulting.com or connecttocarmen.com. But intentionality has a little bit more, depth about me.
Okay,
So those are
great.
the two ways, or on social media as well.
Great. I'm going to be sure to always, like always, to put all the links below on the show notes. Again, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Carmen, for your time today.
Thank you so much, Angie. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all you beautiful souls out there listening. I hope that you gained something from this session, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Amazing. And do connect with her. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.